Meeting to order at 5:22 PM. Can we have a roll call vote? Or roll call of the members present? I would say everybody's here. And, all right, approval of the agenda of the regular meeting of 5:15 plus there is a a June 5th special meeting of the Board of Commissioners. There is a Boating and Safety Committee meeting minutes. There's a CARP committee meeting minutes of May 23rd. And the May 15th, I don't know if you got all those, Tom.
Yep.
May 15th, May 23rd, June 11th, and June 5th. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or corrections? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Tonight, our educational speaker is Andrew Schneier. Oh.
Try to load it.
Oh, okay. This is the stall part. I don't sing. I only play the radio. So. Huh? Oh, no, I never dance. My family won't let me out on the dance floor. Huh? When Jim's busy, let him, that way we can. Andrew's from the field, he's the field research coordinator for the Center for Limnology Research and Rehabilitation at UW Stout. And Chuck and I have met at least once with Andrew. And our goal, as if you look at the strategic plan, is to make more connections with UW Stout. Well, I think the limnology department is probably a really good connection to make. And Andrew's been in this area for quite a while. I do believe he used to work for the DNR out of Eau Claire. I first met Andrew. He was a part of the Red Cedar Basin Water Quality Group. And so Andrew is here tonight to educate us about what his department does, what services they offer, and just to start those conversations so that we, as board members, we know at least have a general idea what the resources are in our backyard. So with that, Andrew, when you're ready, I will turn it over to you.
Funny, Al, some more song and dance would be really.
And that's about it. Did everybody get the CARP numbers? In the, what do we have, Chuck? 178 total CARP? 100 of them were Sunday morning and afternoon, or morning.
That was a hot time Sunday afternoon and then the spawn went on for Monday and maybe Tuesday, but we couldn't get the boats back then and so we kind of hit it but we kind of missed it too. So we'll try to figure out a way to get the height of the spawn and the boats next year.
Yeah, we had 38 boats, well, 31 boats, but 7 or 6 of them were came back and did it again. So that's pretty good. I think we had one fish turned in that was hook and line
Yeah, a
because
big one, yeah.
So, are you ready, Andrew? Okay, you're up.
I show up. We'll put it up in a second.
Oh.
Sounds good.
No, you're not up. So anyway, some of you volunteered. Thank you for those of you that volunteered and were around. It was a good event. I think we were adequately manned the boat landing.
I wish I was younger and I would have probably been out there drinking beer, but I'm too old now to do that.
Yeah, it was a pretty sober group, I do have to admit.
Thank you. Okay, well, I think we're good to go here.
Push the button, the red button. There you go.
Thank you for the introduction, Al. Yeah, so my name is Andrew Schneier. I'm the Field Research Coordinator for the Center for Limnological Research and Rehabilitation. We call it CLEAR for short, so if I reference CLEAR, CLRR in the future, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, we're a small kind of self-funded lab at UW Stout in the Jarvis Hall. We're housed under the Office of Corporate and Economic Engagement, which has a bunch of different centers. We're the only environmental center, but essentially with Stout being a polytechnic university, they want to kind of overlap their education with industry. And so we're one of those units that helps tie kind of the environmental side of the education to the public and kind of making a difference there. Like I said, we're self-funded, so our projects come from or our money comes from the projects we do and the work we complete. I'd say about a quarter of our budget comes from surface water grant funding projects, and I'll talk about some of those projects in a little bit. And then the rest of it comes from subcontracting. We work with a lot of different private consultants. We're one of the only labs in the area that, really in the country, that looks at sediment chemistry in this capacity. And so we get projects from all over, which is pretty cool. And our focus is on freshwater issues and helping different lake groups and entities determine the best management solutions and paths forward. So yeah, our staff, we're kind of a small operation, but mighty. I'm the field research coordinator, as I said. I graduated from the University of Stevens Point in 2018 with a degree in water resources and soil sciences. After I graduated, I've worked for the DNR for about 6 years. A variety of different roles. I started doing inland water quality in La Crosse, working on streams in that region and some Mississippi River fisheries. Then I hopped up to Eau Claire and worked as a watershed restoration coordinator. And that's where I first met Al, working with the Red Cedar River Group. And then I started with Clear January 1st of 2024. So I've been around for about a year and a half and still learning the ropes of everything, but we're starting to go kind of kick up our production right now. And then my counterpart is Connor. He is the laboratory research coordinator. And he has an undergrad and a master's degree from the University of Stout, where he actually worked for the Clear Lab as an intern while he was going through school. And then he worked for a year plus as a private consultant, and so kind of knows a lot of the folks in the Twin Cities areas with that. And then he started with the lab in October of 2023. So we're both the kind of the two day-to-day operations people. And then we work under Bill James, who I'm sure is a name that most of you have heard before. He's a retired director, recently moved to more of a consultant, technical support status. And so still definitely involved, but is taking a step back. Previously, he had worked for 30 years for the Army Corps of Engineers down in Spring Lake, doing a ton of limnology research. He essentially wrote the book or the paper on a lot of this internal loading stuff. And so he's been a great mentor and really just trying to absorb as much as I can from him. And then recently, we just started hiring on a couple students. And so we have a couple kids getting their internships right now through us. And so I think it's really important to kind of bridge the gap with bringing on students and kind of showing them the ropes of aquatic management. So a large part of my summer, which I consider middle April to October, is the field season. We do a wide variety of field monitoring, can really meet the needs of any situation. You can see on the left, we do some sampling in waders, stream stuff, and then most of our work is on lakes. We have a variety of different boats. The boat in the middle there is our big sampling boat that we use the most, and that is actually currently, I spent the morning outfitting it with a crane. We're going to be pulling sediment cores on Green Lake next week in a winch, and that's 230 feet deep. So really that boat we can set to any situation we need. We also have a little electric boat that we use on like Half Moon Lake and some smaller operations. And I've actually pulled cores in kayaks, so we can really adapt to whatever situations happen. So when we're in the field, we're out there for a purpose. What we're looking at a lot of times is determining in situ profiles. So that's using a YSI meter. There's a variety of different multi-parameter sondes, but we prefer the YSIs. That's what's in that case on the left. That looks at pH, dissolved oxygen, conductivity, temperature, and depth. We also have a meter that does light attenuation. We use a Secchi disc quite frequently, and we'll take that and come up with a profile of the lake. So every meter down, we'll take samples and write them down, and that really gives you a good view of what's going on in your lake, the different levels and zones, the littoral zone where the light reaches, some of the other oxygen zones and stuff like that. And then we also collect water chemistry. The thing that kind of makes our lab set apart from just a couple students working on campus is that we're DNR certified. So our data can be used, it's uploaded into SWIMS and can really be taken the same as any the state lab of hygiene data. And so we're certified for total phosphorus, soluble reactive phosphorus, and chlorophyll A. And so we're grabbing samples there on the left, and I'm using the meter on the right. But like I said, we can really adapt to anything. And so sometimes we get total suspended solid samples in. We're looking to expand into more metal analysis using different methods, but right now we subcontract that out. And we also collect phytoplankton and different macroinvertebrates for analysis. And all this is basically just different variables that we're looking to isolate to figure out what's going on in a variety of different situations. Along with the field monitoring and doing the water chemistry stuff, we're kind of expanding into more remote sensing continuous monitors. So on the left is one of our old employees, Malia, setting up an ISCO sampler. And so that determines samples at a certain volume. And so say you're monitoring streams looking at or external loading and runoff, you can set one of those up at the inlet of the stream and it'll grab samples in rainstorms and different events. Those are a little bit more of a pain to use, but we've got a ton of them. And I know that in the 2014 to 2018 Tainter study that I'll get to later that we worked on with you guys, those were pretty essential in determining. Another velocity flow logger that we use is in the middle there. That's out on Horse Creek right now. And that actually looks at the velocity and flow over time. And so you can tell how much water is coming into a lake and then pair that with some water quality samples to look at external loading as well. And then we have a variety of different loggers and stuff that we set up. I just set this one on the right up on North Pipe Lake. And so it's getting temperature in a profile. And then we have dissolved oxygen sensors set up at 10 centimeters looking at when the lake turns anoxic, which then causes phosphorus to come off. And so really adapting to the needs that you guys might have. The big point of this whole presentation is just when you guys are looking at pre-post monitoring and projects in the future, keep us in mind and to build those relationships. And then other than the water quality, the thing that really makes our lab unique is the sediment chemistry we do. So we take a lot of sediment samples out of lakes using that coring device that I'm holding in the middle there. You can actually put a clear tube on it and then drop it down in the water column and then send a messenger that seals off the ball, and then you can pull it up and you'll have a pretty intact core. That's pretty crucial because we're able to then quantify a lot of things based on that known volume of sediment in the tube. You can see we're hauling back a bunch of sediment samples on the left there, and then we bring them back to the lab. And on the right, we section them out in different jars depending on the analysis we're looking at. We also use them to look at phosphorus flux. And so you can see on the right is our incubator. And so we'll set up a bunch of those sediment cores of known volume, and we'll either run them in oxic or anoxic conditions, kind of replicating what's going on at the bottom of your lake. Given those different conditions, we'll look at the amount of nutrients, specifically phosphorus, coming off the bottom of the lake. And that can really help determine internal loading and come up with management strategies. One thing we use this for is pre and post monitoring on alum treated lakes as well. And so after that treatment goes through, we can come back and look at the effectiveness of it. But really, you can use this to look at the effectiveness of any management practices. So say you put a ton of best management practices on land and you're really trying to slow down that external loading, and you want to find out what's left in that legacy phosphorus in the lake, this would be a way to do it. We can really fit it to whatever needs. And right now, we probably have 40 different cores going in the lab, and I go through every day and draw off 10 milliliters and analyze it for phosphorus. And with that, we're able to develop a rate over time of that internal loading. We also look at phosphorus extractions, and so phosphorus is kind of the name of the game when it comes to our lab. And so with those extractions, phosphorus kind of binds in different ways to different particles, and based on how it binds to those particles, different management strategies happen. And so we offer loosely bound, iron bound, aluminum bound, labile, and total phosphorus extractions. These are a lot of samples we get sent from all over the country, and it's pretty niche. We're one of the few labs who does this, and so it's pretty cool seeing how the phosphorus is bound up in your lake and then coming up with management strategies based on that. And like I said, we can pretty much adapt to any analysis needed, and so we offer other stuff. Right now, sediment particle size has been pretty popular, and so determining the different sand, silt, clay factions within the sediment in your lake. A lot of lakes are looking at microbubblers. Not saying that would help or not, but in that situation, DNR wants to see how they change the silt going around the lakes. And so this is one of those pre-post monitoring things with a control we're doing this summer. We also offer max alum and alkalinity testing in the middle there, and that determines if an alum treatment is right for your lake, how much you can add without dropping the pH and keeping it environmentally sustainable. And then moisture content on the right there, we do that on almost every sample we get in. It's a lot of drying and grinding with ovens and various things to determine our different analyses. And then phosphorus equilibrium, which I'll talk about in a little bit, based on the study we did 2014 to 2018, that might be a cool study we can offer you guys to really determine where the soluble reactive phosphorus is coming from in your lake, whether it's coming from runoff or in there currently. So as I mentioned, we've got quite a bit of stuff going on this summer. Every summer is a little bit different, but the icons in the blue are our main study lakes, and we go there bi-weekly and collect those water chemistry and phosphorus samples. So we're working on Half Moon Lake, Cedar Lake, East Balsam Lake, Big Round Lake, Long Lake, and Big Doctor Lake. All of those lakes are surface water grant lakes, and so they're in kind of that post-alum treatment side of things. And so we're essentially going out there and collecting our samples to see if those treatments are working or not. And then we have a couple other lakes, Mead Lake, Wapogasset, and North Pipe have a variety of different things going on. Mead Lake is that microbubblers. And so really just getting around in the community, and you guys would be the closest lake to us. So I think it only makes sense to potentially work together in the future. And then yeah, relating it back to Tainter Lake and our community, like I said, we're kind of your neighbors. I live in Menominee and I recreate on Tainter quite a bit. The last 2 years, we've had a booth at the Red Cedar Watershed Conference. I highly recommend if you guys aren't currently going to that. I do see some familiar faces, but definitely attend if you're available. That's a really, they have different programming every year, and it's a really good conference. And we have a booth, and we like to show off a lot of our different experiments. I'll set up different stuff in vials and teach a lot to the kids that come through too. So definitely swing by and say hi. Another thing I wanted to bring everybody's attention to is if you're not aware, our lab with Bill James did a study, a limnological condition study on Tainter and Menomin. It's really extensive. There's about 100 pages there, and it looks at everything you can pretty much think to look at. The data was collected in 2014 to 2018, so I mean, that can serve as a really good baseline. And then as you guys do future implementation, we'd be happy to kind of follow up with post monitoring to see the successes. Um, and yeah, well, a couple things that study outlined were kind of addressing where the soluble reactive phosphorus, the SRP, is coming from. And so one of the things we can do is dose different levels of different levels of soil in tubes with the lake water, and then determine where equilibrium is, which then you can grab samples from the lake and determine if it's already there or if it's coming through runoff. Another thing with me coming to this meeting is just looking to build a partnership with you guys, whether that's presenting in the future on more niche topics. I can go down plenty of rabbit holes talking about limnology. And so if that's something you're interested in, that pre-post monitoring, and yeah, just trying to get involved with our community and do that outreach and build something special as we try to revitalize and protect Tainter Lake. So that is my presentation, and I'm open to any questions as you have them. I've got business cards for me and Connor, and then we have some handouts with kind of what our lab's about and how to get in contact with us here as well.
Question for the board.
You showed a slide of several different lakes that you are currently working on.
Yep.
And I believe that was for alum.
Yep.
Are any of those lakes in the middle of a river? I mean, does a river run through them?
Yeah.
How is your alum working? I assume to make a flocks
Yep.
to hold the
Yeah.
phosphorus down. How is that working in a river situation?
So most of them aren't. They may have a smaller outflow, but the residence time of the water in the lake, meaning how long that water stays there, is a lot longer than in Tainter Lake. So I'm not by any means preaching alum is the solution. It's a solution that works really well in some lakes and not well in the other. And I'm also not an alum salesman. It's just how a lot of our projects are working. But I don't believe that the application that we're using on some of those northern lakes would be very effective. At least-
Yeah, it's just a tool that we've heard.
Yep.
So, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing any other projects besides, or treatments, I should say? Besides alum? Like you're doing sediment removal or anything like
Yeah.
that?
I'm not aware of it. I know a few, like on the Mead Lake, they have some sediment traps upstream and they're doing some other work and they're doing the micro bubblers right now on one of their bays. And so that's the main thing where I'm doing that particle size to see if the bubblers are resuspending the silt. Um, but I'm sure there are a lot of other management plans that come on through the projects that we're subcontracted for, but a lot of times I just get sent a bag of lake muck and I never actually see the full report. And so we're kind of that middleman, but I think as our relationship grows, building that capacity for other solutions and especially working with some of the other think tanks to kind of come up with an effective strategy is the next step.
I've been doing some research on the micro bubbles.
Yeah,
How long has Mead Lake been doing that for?
they just got permitted and they turned them on June 1st, I think.
Okay, so it's real preliminary.
Yep,
Okay,
and they're running just oxygen, no
Yep.
ozone, so it's the basic setup. And so next year I can definitely share.
yeah, is
their
that something we could
books.
potentially go see or look at it?
Yeah, I mean, if you reach out to me, I can put you in contact with the Lake Association there. With Mead Lake, it's a very similar thing where it was just I met him at, it might have even been the Red Cedar Conservation. I met the Lake Association and they had a need and we submitted prices and they went with a couple of us for a couple of the stuff. And so it was very grassroots like this and less top down like the surface water grant funded stuff.
Which lake was that, Andrew, that's trying the bubbles?
Mead Lake, so that's on the Eau Claire River chain. And so they deal with a lot of similar issues, a lot of shifting sands and eutrophication.
What funded the study from 2014 to 2018 on these lakes?
I would have to look for sure. I know it says in that report, but I think it would be a surface water grant. And that's the thing, if given our good project and you're working with would it be Jody or Alex Smith for your lakes biologist?
Alex.
Yeah, working with Alex and kind of coming together as a whole is how you get those pushed through. We've had quite a few that don't go through and some that do, and so really kind of working with a bunch of different entities to make that happen is how I've seen success before. Now, they're working for DNR. I've ranked those grants on the other side too, so I've got a little bit of insight on how to write them, but I mean, it's a toss up and a fair pitch to whoever has the best applications.
Do you contract any grant writing?
We could probably come up with something. Right now, our summer is very busy, and so we're kind of booking out for next year and stuff, but especially in the winter, I think we could figure some stuff out. And it would be kind of a learning process for both of us, but with how close we are and stuff, I think that kind of some of that trial and error could be valuable.
So in the research study that studied Tainter and Monoman and where the phosphorus is coming from, did it find that it's already in the lake? Majority of it's already in the lake, or that it's coming into the lake?
You know, I haven't dug deep
Okay.
enough in it. It's
Okay.
on my to-do list, and I started also when I met with Al for coffee, I started downloading data off of swims for taking a look, and like I want to say Tanner's a little bit of a pet project, just it's in my community and stuff. So I'm also looking at it, but I really haven't dug fully into it. But I flipped through it and I've looked at some of the charts and stuff, and Bill's cutting edge at the way he does it. So I would highly recommend at least skimming it.
Okay.
To use a relationship analogy, we're still dating. We're not married yet. okay?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I do believe the board approved a study, water samples or we haven't done.
Because of the fact you didn't do nitrogen testing, we
Oh.
had to go to UWSP.
Okay.
Oh,
So-
okay, all right, I stand corrected.
That's fair. I mean, we can still use that data to make our decisions, and we send stuff to UWSP as well, so.
The, one of the things, Andrew, if you run across any of those management plans, s- get a URL for us or if they don't have it posted, because we'll eventually be looking for those management strategies and it's always good to, I used to call it swiping, steal with integrity and purpose.
Yep.
And so anyway, if you can get those with us,
Yeah, absolutely.
that
And-
would be most helpful.
Yeah, I'm happy to help, and even if it's in a somewhat volunteer capacity on the side as we move into this. And I don't know, I've kind of shaped my life around working at the lab and water quality, and
Right.
so I like getting involved as much as I can.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody in the public have a question to ask?
Do you mostly do sediment evaluation or do you do water sample evaluation also?
Yeah, so most of it's sediment with that phosphorus extraction and stuff, but like I said, we are DNR certified for SRP, soluble reactive phosphorus, TP, total phosphorus, and then chlorophyll A, which is a good look at how green your lake is right now. And so we do those water samples as well. And
That's it, and this is really have such a big spirit.
Yeah.
If we did samples and step across the green, and have those tested, if that would help identify points that it was coming in or points not coming in as much.
yeah, and I think a lot of that is taking place in that report that was written too. And so kind of looking back at that, and I think that's a big thing with any lake is really identifying what data is already out there. And I struggle with it too, and I know how to use the databases. So, but yeah, no, that's how you go about it, kind of coming up with an internal, external loading budget and where things are coming from.
Andrew, I think we talked about this at one time, and Tim, there is a guy in the Eau Claire office that does water samples up on the Hay River. And there's a couple that are available out there, and from what I've seen, the phosphorus counts or chlorophyll A counts are very high up in there. So there's quite a bit of it coming down from the Hay River.
And it's very seasonally dependent too. When everything's bare soil right after melt off, things are really vulnerable to running off. And then now things are starting to turn green and crops are on the field and everything. It really slows some of that down. And so it's really seasonally dependent on the year. That's the whole thing. There's hundreds of thousands of variables. And so we try to figure out which ones we can isolate and what that means for management. But it's definitely a puzzle, which is keeping me entertained as I go throughout my career.
Good. Any other questions? Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you coming in and spending some time with us, and I'm sure we'll be.
Does anybody want a card or a?
I just leave them on the table, or you can put them on the table over there. We'll make sure that people get them.
It's good. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Nice job.
Okay, Jim, are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Recognition of visitor and visitor comments. Anybody have a comment? Seeing none, I will move on. Discussion and appointment of commissioner to fill the vacancy on the Tainter Lake Rehabilitation Board. Okay, as you know, Jerry Porter resigned, and so we have a position available. We put out an email, it was posted, it was in the newsletter, how to go about applying. We have 3 people that have expressed an interest in the position. Before we get started, I just want to thank all 3 people for applying. I know 2 of you better than one, but I know everybody is committed to serving on the board. I want to thank you at the beginning, not at the end. And obviously, 2 aren't going to be get the votes. And I just want to thank you for that, no matter how it goes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to allow each person to speak, and you get 2-3 minutes to kind of reiterate. All the board members have had your material or your letter of interest to the board. And so I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to speak, and we'll go down the row. And then what we'll do is we will have a ballot vote on the board. And if one person doesn't get a majority of the votes, then I'd say we go for the top 2. And then we would go another vote and choose the final person. Does anybody have any questions on that process?
Did someone print ballots or something?
No, we're gonna take and rip up some paper, and I spent all day on the budget. I literally, I started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 2:30, 2:45, I hung up from Grant. And so I got the budget nailed down. I don't have the ballots nailed down. So with that, I think I will go right down this order. So Jackie, you're first. Wait. You get to go all the way up there. Well, that way, the reason for that is then people watching the YouTube video can hear it also. And just hit the button with the person on it.
All
Yep.
right. Yes. Hi, I'm Jackie Kunkel. I am born and raised in Menominee. My husband and I have bought our property on Tainter in 2019, so fairly new to living on the lake. However, we have both used the lake as children throughout our lives and with our families. We have 2 little girls that enjoy the lake winter, summer. They've wanted to get swimming since April when we highly suggested not to. So we really enjoy having the lake at our disposal and want to make sure that our children are able to use it with their kids and on and on. That's very important to us. And I think helping get more people involved and the newer generation involved is really important. So we're not duplicating efforts 10 years down the road, and just making sure that people are getting the information that they need, that they want, is a good way to just get more people involved. That's kind of my goal. Professionally, I have been in accounting and finance, different various roles for about 20 years, anywhere from accounts payable to accounts receivable, banking, project management, financial analysis, all that sorts of stuff. So I think I know there's a little bit of a need on that with the board and having people help with that. So I'm hoping that would be a good fit and kind of apply what I know professionally to a little bit of a passion project as well. So thank you.
Does anybody have any questions of Jackie? On the board, none? Okay,
No.
thank you, Jackie. Bob, you're next in line.
Yeah, so I'm Bob Batchelor. I think I know most of you guys. You can tell by what I wrote up that I've got a pretty technical background in electronics and computer operations, mathematics, and you can tell from experience, or at least Jim can point out to you that I'm pretty detail oriented about a lot of this stuff, and I don't miss much, and I do have the ability to write pretty well. I think you guys can see from the minutes, and I think one of the biggest things is I show up, and I've been showing up, and I've been working real hard. I'm pretty excited about this opportunity. So thanks for considering me, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
Tim Mayes, 1949, my dad bought a little cabin on Lower Lake. We still fortunately own it. I'm 69 years old. I've spent weekends and a lot of time on the lake. I'm very passionate about the lake. I have water skied out of Champney Park. I have done a lot of things on the lake that we can no longer do. My grandsons are 6 and 10. I don't want them, when they're my age, to say, I remember when we used to get in and out of Elk Point with a boat. I have had a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment from Tainter Lake. I feel it's my duty to some way, shape, or form give back to the lake if I can. And if serving on the board is part of it, if not, there's committees and there's volunteer work that I can do. But I think it's real important that if we can't fix what's already been done, we really need to try our best to keep it from getting worse. And that's my driving point. I've seen it deteriorate, and I don't want to see it deteriorate anymore. My skills, I'm a people person. I was in sales and management for 40 years. I know a lot of people on the lake. A lot of people come to me you guys already know, I've shared some opinions. A lot of people come to me with their opinions that will not get up here and voice them. And I feel as though that is part of my responsibility too, as a board member, is to bring some of those views to you guys so that you also hear them rather than always in the shadows. I will have an opinion, but as a board member, I will keep my opinions mainly to myself. And if there are issues that I don't agree with, but yet the sentiment of the majority of the Lake District does want it, I will vote for it because that's what the majority wants, even though I'm against it. So I'm coming into it with an open mind, and no agendas. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, the problem that we have is that we have three good candidates. And that does not make our job any easier. Is there any discussion on the board? The board members have any information or questions or anything they want to share?
You know, we could just, the bylaws say that it's your decision. We could just punt it back to you.
You could, once. No, one of the things that I'm really trying hard to do is to have one person in control of everything. And that's why I've kind of spread it out so that all of us are involved in that decision as opposed to just one of us.
Al, we're locked into just having 7, right? That's
Yep,
part of the bylaws,
yeah,
right?
we can't go to 9. Unless you change the bylaws. The problem is that then you can't go back. So, you have to, we're at 7. I know a lot of boards have issues. And my feeling is one of the reasons why the president is to appoint is because usually you got to go out and find people to serve. We don't have that problem. We have a good board and it's rewarding that people want to become involved, and I appreciate that more than you really know. It's difficult enough to get some of this stuff going. We've built this organization from the ground up, and I think it's pretty important work we do. So with that, if nobody has any other decisions, did somebody make some ballots?
I've got 6 squares of paper.
You made the ballots.
Pretty high tech.
Yeah.
This, you gotta make 6 more though, well, just so that you know, because everybody votes for one, the top 2 go, and then we'll vote. And I will explain you can hand them to me. How many are you gonna send down here? There's only 6, right? Nobody can vote twice. Okay, here's the dilemma and my strategy. The 2 bottom, or the 2 bottom there's 1 vote for, there's 1 vote for Bob, 1 for Tim, and then 4 for Jackie. So there's no way to drop off the last one.
Yeah, there's a majority, right?
Yep. There's a majority. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that based on the 4 votes earned, that we make Jackie Kunkel our next commissioner.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Jackie, you're up. Tim and Bob, thank you. Don't get discouraged. I know you might, but don't, okay? We still need you and we still want you, okay?
What's exciting to me is now we have three younger, more energetic maybe.
Hey.
Maybe. I'm not about it. It's exciting to see some young people on the lake that want to get involved. And I'm happy to see it. I am, and there's other roles that I can do.
Okay,
I'm glad to see Adam and Grant and now Jackie, get involved with this. And hopefully bring some of those people their age with them to get excited. I think it's neat, I really do.
good. Thank you. And I sincerely want to thank both you and Bob for putting your name. I know it's a risk when you do that and it's important. But like I said, I'd rather have three people want it than to have to go out there and beg somebody to do it because you know what happens when you start begging for it. And so,
And I think a lot of this boiled down to some of the needs that Grant had with budgeting and finance and some assistance with that. He's kind of strong thin,
Yeah,
you know.
I'm strapped for time with keeping up with all the treasurer work, if I'm being honest, and
if you just retire, you wouldn't have that problem.
man, I dream of it every night.
Sometimes it's not all that it's cracked up to be.
Bob, I got plenty to keep you busy.
So if you want to come up and sign this oath of office, you can sit up here with and finish out the meeting. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But we're gonna throw you right in the deep end here.
Thank you.
Do you have an extra agenda?
Right here.
Pass that down to Jared. Oh, you got an agenda? Okay. Okay, Commissioner Communication, anybody have any communication that they want to share with the board?
Monday night, I spoke to the Downsville Sportsman's Club. Really a nice group of people. They wrote us a check on the spot as a donation and invited me or us to come back again in April to give them an update on our progress on the Lake District. And they suggested that they would be willing to donate again. And I thought that was really good news, really generous of them.
Yeah, Tom is Mr. Wonderful with he goes to a meeting, he comes home with a check. So
He's on a heater. It's hard to argue with that. So.
I don't, no, you're, good job, keep it up.
Yep.
40,000 more to go and
Yeah.
you can have a real budget. Anything else? I don't think there's much that I have to communicate. We put out the newsletter and that had most everything in it. Treasurer's report.
Okay, I went and updated our income statement. Nothing too major. This month we were able to deposit the lottery credit from the county. So that's the third payment of 4 from all the different townships. And we paid out $204 for the cart, well, $204 has been, the checks have been cashed from the cart bounty. So other than that, nothing too exciting. Our checking account balance as of today was $47,317.44. And our savings account, so that's all of our donated funds, which, like we said, Tom's been doing a really good job bringing in donations. So we're up to $14,060.60 in our donated funds.
And just to make note that those donated funds are, some of those are specified for specific projects such as sedimentation, and some of it is general. So there's what, 5 buckets?
Yeah, so there's $10,381 in the general fund, 3175 in the water clarity, 500 in the sedimentation. No,
Okay.
so
And so if we start a project, then for donations, then we put them into the savings account. Any questions for Grant? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda or approve the treasurer's report?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
There's been a motion and second to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, discussion and action, committee reports, voting and safety. Jim?
We met last week. We are on kind of an accelerated meeting schedule as we discuss the possibility of modifying the current control zones for the slow no wake areas, specifically in the channel. We voted to do a survey and send that out. And that the intent is to actually get that sent out by tomorrow. And then have that kind of be go for a couple of weeks. We actually will discuss preliminary results at our next meeting, which will be July 2nd, I believe is. And our meetings are always Wednesdays, typically at Jake's in the back of the dining room area. There's been a lot of interest from especially channel residents about potentially modifying that slow and awake zone. There has been some pushback too about it. So the idea, since we still have the Survey Monkey subscription, to take advantage of that and conduct the survey and get that sent out. So that's next on our plan, and to try and do it probably either tonight after the meeting if I feel that or that active, or tomorrow. So and I don't know, Al, if you got a chance to actually look at it yet.
No,
Okay.
I haven't, but I will. And I had a question and now I spaced it again. The
And to help with this, I actually took the GIS mapping and overlaid exactly where the current slow and awake zones are, where the buoys are, and it has all the property locations, so it makes it a little easier for people, instead of people going, yeah, it's, where the, so and so used to live, or, or some other type of indication that doesn't make any sense, especially for people that are more recent residents, they don't know where so and so may have lived, or where Pine Point was, or any of that type of stuff. So you'll be able to see that when we send that out. It'll be accessible on the website. both the survey and the map. So it's really clickable and it's a fairly high resolution map of the area.
Okay, good. Bob, did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Water quality,
We're having our town hall meetings at Tainter Town Hall on Monday, the 14th at 5 o'clock and Saturday, the 19th at 9 a.m. And what it is gonna be the state of the water quality on Tainter, what's happening on our lake and why, what will work and what won't work as far as remedies. So we think it'll be an interesting program and a learning process for everyone.
good. Sedimentation,
Sedimentation, there is something to report here. Come to find out, an engineering study was done in 2015. And we're going to forward, or we're going to ask that engineering study be forwarded to the DNR to see if the study is acceptable. We're hoping that it will be. And if it's not acceptable, maybe we can still use it and make adjustments to it as written.
amendments,
Yeah, amendments. There you go. Thank you.
okay,
So
good, good.
Is that specifically on the erosion site near Dobbs? Or what is that engineering?
the
study?
stored property.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, if you wanted to make an appointment to go in and talk to the county, I would be willing to go with you. And so
Okay.
if you want to go yourself, that's fine, but if
No,
I'd be willing to come along if.
I'll take a second, cut man or whatever we.
I just have to calm you down a little bit. That's the county. I doubt it. If he does, I will worship him. Let me see, aquatic vegetation.
I apologize for the redundancy from the last meeting, but we've recognized that some of the area newspapers are watching our videos at times and putting some information on the paper, so I wanted to kind of state this again. Plan A as of last August was to start aquatic vegetation harvesting this Monday, June 23rd, with the second session being July 21st, and that's been altered by the DNR. So first harvest will be the week of July 7th, and the second one will be August 11th. And I believe you guys were fielding some emails and put a email out yesterday to the
Yep.
people signed up for the newsletter, correct? Couple
Yep.
hundred residents got that information.
Yep, did you get it? Did you get the email are you on the email?
August 11th is the second that week.
Because I sent out a broadcast yesterday. So,
That's it. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Community connections and fundraising.
I think for the sake of time, pretty much what I have to share and talk about will be addressed
At the end.
at the end, or on item number 5, so.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the committees we got going. That's enough, isn't it? Water quality, you didn't mention, we did put out the results of the carp bounty. And I did state that at the beginning, but did you want to just,
Well, overall, we had a very successful first weekend. And the second weekend was pretty disappointing. And this is a learning curve for us being the first year. And we picked the right time frame last weekend in May, first weekend in June. Unfortunately, the carp spawn when they want to. And they spawned on that late Sunday of the first weekend and Monday and Tuesday. And we did not have any boat coverage on Monday and Tuesday. And so we're gonna go to back to the drawing board and try to figure a way around that and run a 9-day tournament next year and figure out a way to get some boats in here when they're spawning. That's the key. And I was talking to Dave and Barb today, and they were spawning down in Lower Tainter today and near the two islands. Way later than I ever would have thought of. So not an easy task, but we're not discouraged. Like Al said, we had 38 boats and shot 179 carp, and they never got discouraged, so we didn't get discouraged. We're just going to have to figure out a way to get them here when they're spawning. That's the big deal.
And I apologize, I kind of took away your thunder on the report and discussion on the bounty program, but there's a couple of things we'll add to that a little later. Okay, if nobody has anything else to report on the committee, I'm going to go to approval of the policy permitting commissioner virtual attendance to monthly meetings. That was, this is the kind of the second reading per se. Nobody got to me with any additions or corrections. I would entertain a motion to approve the commissioner virtual attendance to monthly meetings.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to permit commissioner virtual attendance to monthly meetings. Any further discussion? The only thing I would say on that is realize it says in the policy that the expectation is to be in person, that the virtual piece is in case you can't. Just so that we're clear about that. I think there's something to be said about being here in the room as opposed to not being in the room. And so if there's no further discussion, although all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion and approval of the proposed 25-26 budget. Now, I did send out copies of the budget that we worked up or kind of redid today. If you don't have a copy of it, I have a paper copy of it. If you didn't, I apologize for sending it out so late in the afternoon, but just the way my day went.
Gotta get up earlier.
You get
Okay.
up pretty early, don't you?
Yeah, I'll start emailing you or texting you at 4:30. How's that sound? Okay, this is the recommended format. And maybe what I'll do is turn this over to Grant and let you kind of get the high points and then I can fill in where necessary.
So basically, we're using a fund accounting strategy here. And when we look at it, it's really pretty straightforward. Probably the biggest question is when it comes to carryover funds. And so what throws a little bit of a wrench in it is that we've been doing a pretty good job privately fundraising. So then it looks like you're carrying over, well, you are carrying over, in this case, we're projecting to carry over about $13,000. 12,925 of that is privately raised funds. So what that tells you is that we're not underspending our tax levy budget by $13,000. It's because we added 12,000 from private funds, which is a good thing. I mean, it's what we want to do. But when you look at it, I would expect that would be a question that people have. When we look at the 2024, 2025 budget, We had a tax levy of $60,734 last year. And our total expenditures are going to be $64,734. And the reason why it's 4,000 more on the expenditures is because we're waiting to receive grant money for our strategic plan. So that will be $4,000. So that'll balance everything out. Other than that, I mean, it just kind of comes down to the you have to put a number in, projecting for donations and contributions. We had a good year of that this year at 12,000, but that's something that I would really hope it's not just 6,000, but you have to have a number in there, and we'd rather project that to be a little bit lower. We get down to the cost of operations. That stuff's all pretty straightforward, and that was everything that we discussed on June 5th for our budget meeting. So I don't think I have a lot else to add other than that, but
The one thing that I would point to, as you look at the cash balance, is, some of that is, money that we've, saved over the last two budgets, and some of that is the, donations, correct?
exactly.
And so, remember, it stated, we're a proposed revenue of 85,000. But if you look down, we're proposing expenditures of only 66,000. Realize that some of that, if you look at the $66,343 at the bottom, at the top, we're proposing, that's our tax levy. And if you look at the levy amounts, there is approximately a $5,000 difference. Maybe close to $6,000 difference.
Yep.
In expenditures, from this year. Actually, it's about $2,000 difference in the expenditures from this year than last year, but the donations kind of skew, how things, where things are. The projects that are listed, there are, well, there's 4 projects. There's a project with, harvesting again. The second one is carp abatement. The third one would be, game fish stocking. And the fourth one would be, a contribution to erosion intervention and engineering. That would be that study that Tom was talking about. If the Stewart property, if that owner, wants to have some help, we want to come to the table with some money, as opposed to just saying, well, we're just nice people and we want you to do something. Okay,
Can I add something to that?
you sure can.
Just an addendum to what Al was saying about the engineering study. There's going to be 2 rounds of engineering. So if by some chance the first round gets paid for fully, which would be great, by someone else, paid for by someone else, we can use that $3,000 towards a second round, which won't be far behind. So
Jim, if you would go to the operations page on that spreadsheet, just so that everybody knows, there's, what, about a $3,500 increase? No. Yeah. No. Yeah, well, anyway, there's a slight increase. A lot of that increase is due to the fact that we now have, we maintain and purchase, buoys. So it's not like we're spending more money. In fact, if you take kind of our core operations, with like communications and conference and dues and fees, you'll see that there is a decrease. And so, and we anticipate insurance will go up slightly. We have to have legal fees if there is a proposal to expand the no wake zone. The other thing we put in is $2,700 for an audit. We need a formal audit to catch us up and to create a spot where, I mean, up until this point, we haven't had that much money to spend. Well, now we're starting to get into real money. The other kind of confusing thing is we're starting to get to the point where we have projects, we have seasonal projects and with a levy, which means you levy, you have a project, we could even be starting, we're levying money in the next year, and then it will continue another year after that. So we have to have a formal accounting to that point. Are there any other questions? This is the budget as it is, unless you want to change it. It's up to the board. I think it's pretty conservative. I think it's right in the ballpark, right? It's everything we talked about at the meeting. I don't know that there's anything in there. There's certainly no surprises.
Are you
No, I-
looking for a motion?
But
Are you looking for a motion?
unless Grant has something else that you want.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's everything that was discussed on June 5th, and at the end of the day, probably most people are thinking, how's this gonna affect me and my taxes? And it's basically the same as last year.
Right. There will be a slight increase, but that could be because we had a slight decrease in property values.
Yep.
So we're estimating a 41 cent per thousand tax levy. So I think last year's was 36 or 37 cents. So I think it's pretty conservative myself. It's certainly not like one person said at the annual meeting last year, be bold. I don't think it quite
Not
gets
there
to
yet.
that point. Okay, I'm looking for a motion, Adam.
I'll make a motion that we accept the 2025-26 proposed budget.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve this proposed budget. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this is good because then in the next week or so, I'll put out the annual meeting information. This page, that front page will be what goes in the annual meeting brochure that gets sent out. Jim, could you do me a favor and put on the website? We have a banner on there that has the annual meeting from last year. Now that we have a proposed budget, could you put on the date and the time? And I'll get that stuff together for you, and then you can connect it to the budget information when I put the flyer out.
Do
So
we have a time? for the
at
meeting?
10 o'clock,
Okay.
10 o'clock, and we're done by noon.
Ah,
Huh? 10 is what well, if you want it at 9, we can go at 9. Does anybody have a better memory than me?
I want it to be 9, so I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I don't remember. We'd have to look back at the
I
minutes.
bet
from-
Tom could go to some minutes. We changed it to 9.
I stand corrected.
Annual meetings.
I'm not positive.
Yeah, I think it was 9 last year too.
No, it was 10 last year, and after the meeting, at our next monthly meeting, we said,
No kidding.
Okay, so what I have from the annual meeting minutes is that, and these are unapproved, but the 2025 annual meeting date, August 2, 2025 at 10 a.m.
But Adam, you're saying you think there was like the next regular meeting that we voted to.
If,
That would be September.
yes, I remember that.
Okay, let's go, just hang on. September, huh?
well, if you look at the
Oh,
website.
August, you're right.
If you look at August. I think I actually did that one.
November, October, December minutes. Holy smoke, it's not in here. That's not good. May, June, March. Good Lord. You're probably gonna have to replace me, Al.
No,
Can you just review it and see what, if we made a motion, and if we didn't, keep it at
Yeah,
10?
let me-
If we made a,
Search.
I don't think we like voted on it. You
well, that
know,
was
I
a
think-
suggestion.
yeah, I'm thinking we just discussed that and moved on, so.
Here, what, it was 2024.
We could put it as an agenda item for next meeting to nail down the details of the annual meeting.
Yeah, it's a little late, but,
Yeah,
we'll keep it at 10 unless we have, action that says it's
Yeah.
at 9.
I don't think we took action on it. I think it was just added. I think someone in the crowd even made that suggestion.
Oh, it says here. Check-in lines, blah, 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 179 people attended. Start time of 9 a.m. was suggested, wasn't acted upon,
Okay.
so.
Do we have it? I don't know that we need formal action. It's not on the agenda anyway, but, what's the consensus of the board? Jim? You're,
I don't care.
I just felt like some people at the meeting were getting frustrated because it was like 85 degrees and they wanted to get out on the lake, and it was 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. and we're still.
oh, it wasn't that late, was it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I was one of those people.
The other thing that was mentioned was people asked for us to start on time, and we had some backlogs.
We
in the
waited for
check-in
some-
area.
right.
I think we have that fixed for now.
Okay, let's do it at 9 o'clock then. If nobody really cares, we'll do it at 9 o'clock.
So that's what I'd rather.
Jackie? Okay, is that okay? All right. We gotta get something out of you today. You're sitting up here. Nobody gets away with. Just because you're quiet doesn't mean that you're not going to get assigned something. All right, so it's at 9 o'clock. Jim, could you put that on the website, please? And then once I get the material, I'll shoot it to you right away. Discussion, and by the way, I get that stuff out. I like to get it to the printer by July 1 so that it's in people's hands we have to have it in their hands by 14 days before the annual meeting. But I like to make sure it's there way in advance rather than last minute. And we send it to everybody in the Lake District. I do know from the annual meeting standpoint, and I think I'm gonna assign my wife to do this, that she is going to take all the trusts go at one table. So if you're a trust, because the trusts, some start with T for trust, some start with somebody's last name, somebody's first name. It's all over the place. And so we're gonna have a table just for trusts.
Good idea.
And then we should, like Tom said, we should be able to start on time. And I guess from what everybody's telling me, that we're starting on time no matter what.
I would assume LLCs are also an issue.
Yeah, any of those, if they, although LLCs aren't bad because they usually begin with a last name. You know, so like it would be the Brown LLC, but they're not as variable as trust because some people come in and like Al Brown Trust. Well, it may be under Brown, it may be under Al. Some are under Trust, Brown. It's all weird and it just slows everything up.
Now, hopefully people have some experience doing this now too, so they can come up there and report exactly
Right,
the format that their property is listed in.
right, yeah. I'm hoping. All right, discussion and action upon request for funding for September, oh, excuse me. I skipped a spot. Report and discussion on the carp bounty program. You kind of gave
The
that.
only thing I got to add is just let me know if you see them rolling down there again. I think you got my email address or phone number, and I'll log it in the sheet. We'll try to figure it out.
Chuck's our carp expert. Okay. No action is needed on that. Discussion and action upon request for funding for September 20th fundraiser.
Yeah, so we've been working on planning a first annual fall fundraiser. Elk Point's giving us permission to use their facility. And I secured a raffle license for the Lake District. So basically what we need is a little bit of seed money for getting that event up and going. Jane has been a really big help in rounding things up, so there's some money that will need to be spent to print the raffle tickets. She was able to secure like tables and chairs and sound at a discounted rate. We've been asking for raffle prizes to be donated, which we have gotten some pure donations, but there are also a couple that people want us to pay cost for. So basically what I'm asking for is permission to spend up to $2,000 in money that we have privately fundraised, so not tax levy dollars, for that seed money to be able to get that event to go. And with the amount of raffle tickets that we're planning to print, and we're gonna have food there. We are predicting, I think my goal would be that we could bring home $15,000 from the event. Obviously, we got to get out there and sell the tickets and some things like that, but I think that's a pretty reasonable goal to have.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we okay $2,000 for the September 20th fundraiser.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have discussion? Any questions for Grant? The one point that I would make, Grant, I believe, is you said that you're taking it out of the donation, the
Yeah.
general
The
donation.
general fund.
Okay, from the donation. So to reiterate again what Grant said, we are not using tax dollars to raise money.
No, we're using
Fundraising.
privately fundraised dollars to hopefully
Raise
bring
more.
back I would love to 10x the investment, but I don't know if we'll quite get to 20,000. But we
Okay,
have to start somewhere.
good. No, invite Tom and I think you'll hit the 20.
We might.
I have a motion and a second to allow the fundraising committee to spend $2,000. Without any other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. By the way, that's on my birthday, you know, so.
Oh, Al's birthday party,
Hey.
25,000.
I, I, yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
right. You know, my kids have never even come to an annual meeting and they live on the lake. Okay, so just so that you know, I don't even get 2 extra votes for anything. Approval of contract with Dunn County to provide storage for our documents. Part of our document policy is to have storage, at, Land and Water, Conservation, Department. They sent us a contract, basically says it's free until we get 8 bankers boxes, and then it is $10 a box a year after that. It'll take us a while to get the 8 bankers box. But there are some paper things that need to be stored there, and I would say that between Tom and you, Grant, there should be some things like our state applications. If there's a paper copy of that, we should put that there, those kinds of things.
Yep.
I mean, you know, there's all the forms that you fill out for, applications for taxes and those kinds of things. We should have those in a central location.
Yep, and I have all those organized pretty well right now, so I'll just bring them in and,
Well, you make copies of them, so you have some for
Yeah.
yourself.
yep,
And then, just let me know when you get them organized. I'll swing by, pick them up, and I can take them in and personally,
put
I
them
have
there.
to go in and sign a contract with them anyway, but,
Okay. You can get that done.
okay. So, did we approve that already?
No,
No, okay. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract with Dunn County.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Dunn County for storage of our paper documents. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of a donation to Elk Point Resort for the use of their private boat landing during the carp bounty weekends. One of the recommendations that came from the carp committee was that because Elk Point was gracious to allow us to use their boat landing, and we were there every night, all night for 2 weekends. We just thought it would be a good idea to donate out of that budget, $300. I guess is what we agreed upon, isn't it? Or was it more?
300.
$300, and then to be put towards the fireworks.
It's going towards the fireworks show. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
No, I think they deserve it. They're really have been really great to work with, even like with this fundraiser and stuff too. They're really supporting what we're trying to do here, and I think $300 is money well spent helping them out.
Jim, any comment? Okay. Adam, good?
I'll make a motion, we donate $300 to the Elk Point firework
That's good.
show.
Do we have a second? Chuck, you've been seconding everything tonight. You want to second this one?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to donate $300 to Elk Point for their use of the boat landing during carp bounty week, our carp bounty weekends. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the last meeting before the annual meeting of August 2nd is July 17th at 5 o'clock in this room. Agenda items are there any agenda items? That you can think of? Okay, well, if you think of anything, let me know. I'll think of some, but not too many, okay? I mean, we've had 3 meetings this month. I think we're due for a short meeting. Okay,
Yeah, it's probably just like nailing down the details of the annual meeting. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, it'll be annual meeting, trying to get volunteers to work the tables.
yeah,
Those kinds of things. I already have the room reserved. I got a checklist that will go down and, go through, so.
perfect.
All right, anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, to adjourn. We're adjourned.
Who seconded that, please?